UConn's Final Four loss was not a good look for Geno Auriemma. Not only because their undefeated season came to an end and South Carolina outplayed them, but because he looked like a sore loser at the end. He was heated with Dawn Staley. I don't know exactly what went on there, but Auriemma was visibly upset. And look, even if it was justified, even if there was some transgression that made it justified, it comes off making him look bad. Perception-wise, Dawn Staley gets the victory, not only as far as moving on to another national championship game, but as looking more composed than Geno. And that, it was really the long and short of it when you think about it and you break it down, because here was, there's a series and sequence of events, really. Geno was clearly upset about something, the officiating and Dawn Staley on the sideline.
Their coach rants and raves on the sideline and calls the referee some names you don't want to hear. And now we get 6-0, and I got a kid with a ripped jersey, and they go, I didn't see it. Come on, man. This is for the national championship.
So he was mad, of course, saying they were being too physical with his team, perhaps taking them out of the game a little bit, taking them out of their rhythm. And to be quite frank, some of the players on UConn did not look ready for the moment, looked a little afraid out there, specifically AZ Fudd, who just did not rise to the occasion after, to be fair, she was the most outstanding player of the Final Four last year, but for the presumptive number one pick, 3 of 15 from the floor, 2 of 9 from 3, did not look for her shot very much at all. Even Sarah Strong, who I'm a massive fan of, was not great in the second half of that game. And as you can see in the shooting numbers, did not shoot the ball well. They got outplayed and out-toughed, I suppose you would say, by South Carolina. And then you look at the numbers for South Carolina, none of their players went nuts. Latson had a good game. Tessa Johnson's a really good player. Edwards a good player. They got production up and down the lineup. Raven Johnson can contribute without scoring, but they got the best of UConn, who had won however many games in a row up until this point. And now Dawn has a chance for her 4th national championship with the Gamecocks. Now, as far as the sportsmanship, that's a whole different story. Here's the exchange that happened after the game. Kareem Copeland captured it. Let me credit him for the video here, but you can see it. He's waiting on the win here. There it is. Goes over to Geno. He had something to say. And they had to be separated. And then Geno's leaving. Dawn sort of upping the ante at that point, at that juncture. I mean, this is a moment, right? And I think I just heard her say, I didn't do ish. And Geno might have said something about a hand. I'm not sure. But you don't really see something like this, especially between two coaches of this level, right? You're talking about legends. The two figureheads of women's college basketball, no question. And there's some animosity there. This is not a friendly rivalry. And remember when UConn won last year? Well, there it is. It hadn't even ended yet. Geno was out of Dodge. And it looks like he's not there. And we got to calm Dawn Staley down. Again, in that moment, I have no idea what Dawn Staley could have done to precipitate that because I'm not there. But Geno looks like the sore loser in that video. Dawn looks like the composed one in that video. That does not reflect well on the legendary UConn coach. Now, in the postgame with Holly Rowe, Dawn Staley had said something. She said, I don't know what I really did. Something about perhaps him not shaking hands, or he said something about not shaking hands pregame. But and she also cited her integrity, said things get heated sometimes. But if you look at pregame, there was something there. I would call that the equivalent of a handshake. I certainly wouldn't call that a snub. And then in the official post-game press conferences, they both addressed the moment, which is going to be talked about much more than anything that happened on the court.
One, you can ask Gino the question. You know, he's the one that initiated the conversation. I don't want, you know, what happened there to dampen what we were able to accomplish today.
Oh, it is going to. It will be the only thing that is talked about pretty much between now and when South Carolina takes on the winner of Texas and UCLA, which is going on as I'm recording this video. Geno himself said this about the moment and the exchange. Of course, he didn't go into much detail here.
What exactly happened in the end of the game in the last second with the handshake line with you and Dawn?
I said what I had to say, and nothing.
See, I feel like at that point, when you act like he did there, you kind of, I don't owe is a strong word, but it would be nice if the public could get the explanation, you know, because that's on national TV. That's for everybody to see. And I know Geno doesn't lose all that often, so he might not be used to it. But, bro, you came off looking like a real sore loser, a real crybaby in front of the entire, you know, viewing public. So if there was a reason, if you were justified, you're better off explaining it to people. In my mind, you're better off saying, she said this or did this, and I did not appreciate it. Okay, then we can go, oh, really? She did this or said this, or, you know, and then she can be asked about that. But when you do that, in everything we see from public from Dawn, she handled it well. And then you go, well, he said what I had to say. You look bad. You know, Gino Auriemma's legacy is pristine. It is what it is. He's got all the rings. You know, he's got everybody has their moments, right? Like he's going to have games he would want to take back, or you know, I know Caitlin Clark fans are still mad at him for his comments he made about her shortly after she went into the WNBA. Nobody's perfect is what I'm trying to say. Nobody's resume is perfect. And this won't be a stain that does anything to hurt his overall body of work. But in the moment, you know, it don't look good. And Geno Auriemma comes off like a sore loser. And, you know, leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth and does take a little bit of the shine off of South Carolina, which if I was Dawn Staley, I wouldn't be thrilled about.